Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Sales. If you're looking for actionable insights and real-world tools to turbocharge your sales starting tomorrow, well, you're in the right place. Your host, Kay Miller, earned the affectionate nickname Muffler Mama when she sold more automotive mufflers than anyone else in the world. In this podcast, Kay will talk to another superstar woman in sales as they reveal uncopyable strategies you can use to rack up more leads, snag dream clients, and take your sales numbers through the roof. Stay tuned and get ready to make more sales and how about this? More money.
If you are a woman over 50 or plan to be one, this one's for you. Viveka von Rosen has 19 years of experience in LinkedIn marketing and sales and is an accomplished speaker and author. But after an epiphany, which happened while she was in the hospital, by the way, she decided to pivot and pursue her passion, helping women transition from corporate positions to entrepreneurship. Viveka, welcome to the podcast. I can't wait to hear more.
Thank you so much. I am excited. We have so much in common.
We do, and we both read each other's books, and as you said, we're very in alignment about all of that. So I would like to talk to the women in the audience who are listening, many who are sales professionals, but also entrepreneurs and business owners, women that don't think they're in sales. And as we just discussed, we're all in sales. And if you're going to have a business, of course, you need to be in sales. So why don't you talk about where that pivot mindset came from?
Yeah, and I love what you just said, because ironically, when I was in my last company, which was called Vingresso, I was the chief visibility officer and basically the chief learning officer, and I taught most of our classes and worked with our clients. And I taught sales, but I didn't have to do sales because I had a different role. And then I made my pivot. And to your point, I'm like, oh, and now I don't have a team to do this and a team to that and a team to do
It's all you.
It's all me. Now, I actually could hire a team, but I think when you're first starting out in, your new position, your new job, or your new career, or your new business, if you're starting your own, it's really good to kind of dive in there and utilize the relationships that you have already created. On down the line, yes, I can create products that I can hire salespeople to sell for me. But I think when you first start out, it's important to really dive deep into what you're doing and have those conversations with people you already know who, as you've said, as I've said, who know, like, and trust us.
Right. And how do you know then when it's time to consider pivoting? And again, we're talking about women over 50, and we talked about some stats earlier, which I got from ChatGPT, which I know you are a huge proponent of using. We will talk about that in a minute.
Yes.
But every day, approximately 1,800 new women-owned businesses are created in the U.S., and they are started by women over the age of 50. Can you believe that?
That's awesome. Clearly, I am in the right market.
You are. And of course, in the Uncopyable framework, we were just talking about your target market is your moose, and you got a great herd of moose.
I do.
Yeah. So how do these women decide to pivot, first of all?
Well, we all probably have that little voice inside us going, it's time to leave. It's time to leave, which we all ignore, or at least most of us ignore. And then eventually you get the big God smack. You could end up in the hospital like I did. You can, be confined to your bed in stress. You can end up having a divorce. It's usually something in your life, if you don't listen to that still small voice, that comes along and whacks you upside the head and says, hey, it's time to pivot. It's oftentimes, especially for women in our 50s, 60s, it's your own company going, yeah, you're not really relevant anymore.
Right. And I have actually a couple friends who are in the corporate world, and they have given their everything, worked so hard, raised kids. Whereas I've always been an entrepreneur, and that, of course, affords you a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've talked about the fact that they are kind of seen as the older generation. I remember when my dad retired, 65. Back then, he worked in a male-dominated industry. All the men would retire, and within a year, I swear, half of them were dead.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
65 seemed so, older. And so now
Yeah.
here we are looking at a next chapter of our lives.
Exactly.
There are so many examples of women who, looking for their next chapter. So I agree. There's a still small voice or a loud voice that we ignore that is either it's divine or our own intuition that tells us it's time to move on. So what are the possibilities there? And talk about what it takes and really any specific skills or actions that you can do to make this work.
Well, one of the things, and thank you for that question. One of the things that's so hard is women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, we got into the workforce in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I always visualize, like, if you remember Grace Jones back in the 80s, she like fabulous, huge shoulder pad suits.
Yes.
I feel like we put those suits on and they were really our armor, with the little bow ties.
Oh my gosh.
In your book, right? You pinned that bow tie, right? To your.
If you're old enough to remember that, John T. Malloy, Dress for Success. I always pinned my bow tie on. Right. And I totally had shoulder pads. So.
Right. Oh, yeah. We had the shoulder pads. And I almost visualize it like this Teflon business suit, which over time began to feel like a second skin for us. So for women now in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s who are wanting to leave the business world, like, first of all, we got to peel off that Teflon shoulder padded business suit that we have figuratively and maybe literally still are wearing because it's not serving us anymore. We had to wear that Teflon suit. We had to blend in with the boys. We had to become mini men back then if we wanted to survive in many, many industries. Not all industries, but in most industries.
Many, yep.
Right? And so, we have to take that off. And that's really hard because it has melted into our skin. Like, it is hard to discern the difference between our skin and this suit that we put on in order to succeed. Number 2 or B, I was going A-B, wasn't I? B, the glass ceilings we broke. Like, we worked so hard to break those glass ceilings, to be a role model, to rise up in our companies. Like, and we're supposed to walk away from that? Are you kidding me? C, in doing that, a lot of us have demonstrated our thought leadership. We're subject matter experts. Some of us are influencers in our industry. We're supposed to walk away from that. Like, what? And then finally, I can't remember what my 4th point was. But those 3 are probably
3 is the magic number.
Those 3 are probably enough. So how do you walk away from that? And that's exactly where I was at. I had spent 18 years positioning myself as the LinkedIn expert, speaking all over the world, writing all kinds of books. And now I'm supposed to just let that go. But I had to. I had many opportunities to let that go, and I didn't. And then there I am in the hospital bed going, what the heck am I doing with this life? Because as you get older, you do realize the time to the end is shrinking a little bit. And there's got to be more to life than making the money, buying the shoes, buying the houses, buying the cars, whatever. We definitely need more or better use of the time that we have left. And so that's kind of what I went through. Now, the great thing about being in our 50s, 60s, and 70s is that we have so much experience. And I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. don't delete your LinkedIn profile. Don't like burn all your bridges. You'll have to burn a few of them. Don't burn all your bridges though. Like take a minute, sit back, but you do have a wealth of knowledge that you can now bring into whatever you want to do next. You do have an amazing network of people that you can tap on the shoulder and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? Or I've done this. Who do you know? Right? We don't want to drop those things, but we do need to be very, very clear in our own minds. I am shifting. It is time for me to make this change. And there will be people who don't want you to. I heard so many people go like, how can you walk away from being the LinkedIn expert? How can you like change your URL on LinkedIn? Which is one nice little strategy that you can do.
Yeah, we should probably delve into that when you're done. And I have one comment.
Yeah.
But let's go the rest.
Yeah. And that I'm pretty much wrapping up but yeah, so there's a lot that you can do. So now you have to ask me again because I do go down rabbit hole.
Well, that's okay. That is totally okay. And one thing that came to mind though is, as I told you, I'm almost 65. Right. And people do tell me now that I look really good for my age, but I could retire. But I might have 20 or 30 years ahead of me, and I need a purpose. I need to contribute. So I like to golf. I love to ski. I love to hike. I am able to fit those things into my life, but I think it's good as you come to this point of your life, you want a work-life balance, which of course is a cliche, but at this age, you do have the opportunity to do that and pursue your passion. So there will be some steps to do that. And one of them, of course, is deciding what kind of business you want to be in. So do you have any guidance or tools on how to explore that and decide?
Yeah, absolutely. My business, I named my business Beyond the Dream Board because when I was, COVID time, right, we're all cleaning out everything. So I found my old dream board. I'm like, wow, did that, got that, have that, I'm like happy. And it wasn't just because of COVID. So what was beyond that? What was beyond the dream board? Where could I, what was next? So that was the name of the company, the book, the program, all of that, the podcast, which may or may not happen. Beyondthedreamboard.com. Exactly. So to your point, we go from working so hard and then all of a sudden at whatever 55, 65, 75, whatever age we are faced with, okay, I can retire. So we go from all the work to none of the work. So it's interesting. We're kind of turning it on its head. Work-life balance is actually life-work balance because a lot of us still want to leave our mark. We still want to do something that leaves an impact, leaves a legacy. And, working harder at the company we're at might not be that thing. So one of the things I do, I've got a meditation called Beyond the Dream Board that I actually bring first thing we do. New clients, they're like, oh my God, that's so woo-woo, but whatever, where we actually go and move through the dream board to what's on the other side. And it's just open intuition and what is showing up for you. It might be a symbol. It might be a person. It might be a fully detailed plan. It might be a color. It might be a smell. But we know what we were put on this earth to do. We know what our calling is. It's just we've covered it up with Teflon business suits and other things and other people's opinions and what the idea of success is. So we've covered that up. Like for me, I've always known I loved being on stage. I thought I was going to be an actor. That didn't work out, but I love being on stage. I love speaking. I love writing. I've been writing my whole life. But my message and what I was talking about just was off. Right. So for me, it was kind of clear what my skills are. Most of the women coming to me now, they have that in them. They have a book in them. They want to get on stage and share their message with the world. In fact, that's kind of my one calling to the world. My one message to the world is women's words will change the world because it needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not everyone wants to be an author or a speaker. Like there are many of you out there who are artists, who are dancers, who are like phenomenal strategic business minds, who can do wonders with money and know, and love the world of finance. That is so cool. But don't diminish your gifts in order to fit into a box. Now is the time that we take our gifts out, we blow the dust off them, and we start to show them to the world. And then we let our gifts lead the way. So it's interesting because I do have many, many years of sales and marketing experience. And I'm 100% letting the woo out because I feel that it is our deep intuition that will show us the way and really show us what we need to do in order to leave our marks on the world.
And, mindset is huge.
Yeah.
There's a quote that I cannot remember. It's a classic author, Jane Eyre. That's the name of the book or the author? I can't remember.
Yeah, Jane Eyre's the book. Yeah.
Jane Eyre. So the author is Charlotte Bronte. It's one of the Bronte sisters.
Okay. I know I'm an English major. I should totally know this.
I'm not. But there is a quote that I'm also going to screw this up, but if we would only listen to ourselves, we would be our best guides. Instead of asking other people, if you really ask yourself, and I just had a woman on who talks about neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes, NLP,
NLP, and she said, ask your subconscious what the answer is and listen. So I do think it's hard to slow down and really go internal with that, but all of that is huge before you get into the logistics and how this is all going to work. So mindset, self-reflection is really huge.
Yeah.
So let's say, and by the way, Grandma Moses didn't start painting till she was in her 80s, by the way.
Exactly.
I know that one.
Maya Angelou. I mean, there are so many powerful women who didn't even start exploring their gifts until they were in their 50s or beyond.
Or beyond. We'll say 50 plus. So once you make that decision, you know, how do you proceed to tell the world? You talked about network, but also you mentioned changing your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, branding.
Getting a new website, branding yourself. So what are some steps? You don't have to go through all of them, but what are a couple steps?
I'll share what I'm doing and what my clients have done too. But before I do that, thank you so much for bringing the going inward. One of the things there are two things that have launched me to where I am right now. One of them is my morning practice. I meditate and journal every morning. Now, maybe you're not a journaler, maybe you're a drawer, whatever it is, you're a singer, whatever, but tap in. You got to tap in. The other thing's ChatGPT. There's no way I would be where I am right now without ChatGPT. And it was really interesting timing because the last big gig I did as the LinkedIn expert, I was speaking at this event and it was like I was outside of my body watching myself speak. And I was just like, this is not what I'm meant to be doing. I'm meant to be speaking, yes, but not on LinkedIn. I felt so disconnected. I'm like disorganized.
Something.
Disconnected. Yes. I felt so disconnected. And everyone came out, oh, that was great. I learned so much, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? Because I felt fake up there. Now, at that conference, I first learned about ChatGPT, and I had no idea it was going to be the game changer that it was. So what I learned at that conference from my friend Jordache Johnson is you got to season the pan. And that was the make or break with ChatGPT. And what he means by that is you got to get as much information about you as possible into ChatGPT, into your chats, or whatever generative AI tool you want to use. I happen to use ChatGPT and Magi. But you want to get as much as your personality in there as you can. Copy and paste blog posts, or if you've got the paid version, put in links to blog posts just so it can get your voice. Ask it, who do I sound like? That way, even when you make your pivot, your true voice comes along with it. Otherwise, you get, delving deeply. Don't ever use the word delve.
Well,
we all know you use ChatGPT.
And here's another one. I have to just throw this in, but apparently ChatGPT emails almost always start with, I hope this email finds you well. So don't ever say that.
Don't ever
say hope that email finds you well. Don't do that.
And you can literally tell ChatGPT, don't ever say that. Like, right. Use the word delve again. So now it's diving deeply. I'm like, oh. Anyway, so I learned about that, and and fortunately for me, I have quite a voice and I've written lots of books. So I put my books in there and I put my blog posts in there. But if you don't have that, talk about something you love into your phone and have it, what's the word I'm looking for? Into words.
Well, transcribe.
Thank you.
See, we are over 50 people. We are. Just wait.
Transcribe it, pop it in there. Like, talk about anything you love. Just give it your voice. So I knew I had to have a new website. I found referrals. I love referrals. Referrals are the way to go, both for getting business and giving business. So I got a referral from someone who worked with women entrepreneurs. And she gave me this questionnaire, which sat, on my computer for 3 months. Because I looked at that questionnaire and I was just like, oh, too much. So then I'm like, all right, ChatGPT, see how good you are. I would feed the questions in, and oh my gosh, the answers were like right out of my brain, but with better spelling and better grammar. I couldn't believe it. So I literally wrote my entire website using ChatGPT in a matter of maybe 4 or 5 hours. Of course, I went in. I know. Like, normally that would take months and months and months. 4 or 5 hours. I had to go in. I had to change things up. And I have since, refined my offer and changed a lot up. But just to get started, that was huge. So then I'm like, okay, people need to learn what I'm doing. Write some blog posts for me. Like all of these blog posts. Now, again, I'm using more sophisticated tools now, Content at Scale, great tool. But it got me started and it got some of my content out there. LinkedIn, obviously, did a complete rebrand on LinkedIn. And then here's a little ninja trick for you. Couple ninja tricks for you. So first of all, change your URL. So I changed my URL, which is what everyone, they couldn't believe I did this. From linkedin.com/in/LinkedIn expert, which I'd had for over 10 or 15 years, however long the custom URLs. I got it right at the beginning. I remember exactly the day, what I was doing when I got that URL. And I changed it to my name. And that was such a psychological move for me. Like, that was huge because I knew I was giving away LinkedIn expert. Right?
I know.
Walking away from that. I know. Scary.
Committed now.
I know. Yeah. Although it still takes you to my profile, whatever. But also, I was claiming my name, which had been given away, and I won't even get into all of that. So change your URL to your name if you haven't done so yet, or to your new business name if you want to do that. Obviously, the background image, the photo, the headline, the about section. ChatGPT did a lot of that. I won't say for me, I'll say with me. And as a LinkedIn, and I know you've had Brynn on, and she's phenomenal.
Yes.
And
Brynn Tillman. I don't remember which episode, but man, did she ever deliver so many specific tools.
So much value.
I had no idea. So check out that episode.
Yes, so much value. Listen to what she says and apply it. She was with me at Vengresso too. So what we always said is, your LinkedIn profile needs to be a resource, not a resume. You always come at it from your buyer's point of view because you want to build that know, like, and trust. You want to attract people to you. I am a huge fan of leads coming to me. They're not going to come to me if I'm like a rock star and awesome and I've got 25 years of, right? if I know who my buyer is, my buyer persona, my ICP,
Your moose.
your moose, if I know, thank you. Yes. If I know who my moose is and I can talk specifically to my moose's point of pain and what their needs are, what their wants are, what their desires are, what their feelings are, what they're thinking, what they're saying, and I can solve some of that for them, they will naturally be attracted to me. I don't have to sell myself because I am providing value and I'm giving them answers, which is exactly what I started doing. My whole profile is basically, I recognize you. I understand where you're coming from. Let me help you. Here's some free ways I can help you. Here's some paid ways I can help you, but let me help you.
So I will mention that I will put all the resources that you mentioned, including your website and your book, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But yeah, with Bryn, that does stick with me. She said, why wait to provide value? Provide value up front.
Yeah.
And then something very compelling and valuable. And, I think a lot of people put teasers in, but if you look at her profile, she really does provide value.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you do too. I do want to mention your book, 101 Ways to Rock Change. So this is a really great, powerful book that gives you so many things to think about as you build your new website, profile, pictures. You need that brand. To go back to ChatGPT, because I also love ChatGPT with the caveat that, yes, you do need to edit it. But as the author of a book.
Check your facts.
Yeah, check your facts for sure. And I didn't check these, but I just pulled this off of, ChatGPT about the 1,800 new women-owned businesses are created in the U.S. We'll assume that's correct, but it would be a good idea to check that fact. But you had recommended some specific prompts in your book. And, I tried one on myself. Tell me about Kay Miller, author of Uncopyable Sales Secrets. Oh, my gosh. I'm apparently a dynamo, a dynamic, all these great, descriptions. But, I can tweak that. But boy, starting with that versus just starting with a blank page.
Yeah.
So many things from writing emails, content. As you said, it will scour the internet for things that you have written. So it has your voice. So really ChatGPT, I've used something called Jasper. I noticed on your website, your new website, a lot of the art looks like it's generated with AI. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm graphically impaired. Like I can't make a good graphic to save my life. And I had to bootstrap this. I won't go into details, but I had to bootstrap this business. And I didn't have a team. I didn't have a marketing team anymore. My old marketing team at Vengresso, phenomenal. And I was like, oh man, it's going to be hard to go from that to this. But then I discovered ChatGPT, and then Magi has some really good graphic creation features, and problem solved between, ChatGPT and Magi and Canva. Because I am so graphically impaired. Like I can appreciate a good graphic, but I cannot create a good one. So templates.
Right. And Canva is awesome, obviously.
Yeah.
It's been around. Hopefully everyone knows about Canva. We'll put that in though, just in case. So
yeah. So I remember when it first started, I was speaking at Social Media Marketing World back in I don't know, it was maybe 2009, might have been 2012. But anyway, they had just started, and I'm totally forgetting his name right now, which is awful. But he was Max Jack. I don't remember. Anyway, he was like 12, number one. But he was their chief marketing officer. But it was just such a small company back then, and he was like so out of Australia. He was so like excited about everything, and now stand back and like Canva is everything it is. It's been amazing watching this industry transform over the past 15 years or so. Yeah.
So many advantages that we didn't have earlier. Like you said, in our career, we're looking at books to tell us how to dress. And now we've got all these tools. And I can't believe
you can, by the way, ask ChatGPT. I'm going to this meeting with this, like, how awesome would that have been for you, right? I'm going to the this meeting with this construction company. It's my first meeting. I'm a 24-year-old woman. What should I wear? Right?
Yes, you could ask it anyway. Or you could ask it anything. And one thing I do with all my clients, why should you choose this company over the competition? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. It's amazing.
So ChatGPT, to the people who use it, we are, enthralled with it for good reason. There are scary aspects to it, but
always be polite, because when it takes over the world, you want to remember.
Not really.
Remember me. Thank you. I say please.
So we are actually out of time. As I said, I told that I try to keep these to 30 minutes, and we just blew through a lot of topics, and there are a lot more. We might need to talk again because we want to give the listeners all the resources and encouragement and inspiration. I'm finding that huge. For business owners, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, a lot of us work alone. So to have the encouragement of people who are passionate and succeeding is awesome. So I will say, Viveka, I have totally enjoyed our conversation. Look forward to talking further. To those of you listening, remember, I will put all these resources in the show notes. So Viveka, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncopyable Women in Sales, your source for secrets you can use to make more sales. Check the show notes for links and contact information. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please spread the word by subscribing, sharing, and leaving a 5-star review. You can always learn more by going to uncopyablesales.com/podcast. Until next time, go out and supercharge your sales like a true uncopyable rock star.